Well, good morning, YTPC. This is Dave coming to you from the paddock here in Southern Maryland. It's Sunday morning. It's about 11 a.m. Sunday morning on February 18th. And this is going to be part 5 of our 5-part series. So let's do a little housekeeping. As always, the Maryland Meerschaum. Hey, I love that we've got a California Meerschaum, a New York Meerschaum, a Maryland Meerschaum. I love that. I love how that's happening. What's in it? Smarty Bob. This one's for you, baby. This is my first time, Carter Hall. I've had this for a while. I'm opening it up. This is my very first bowl of it. I'm a couple of puffs into it. This canister, the smell is fantastic. And the taste, it's a little different, but I like it. Thank you, Greg. So Smarty Bob, this one's for you, buddy. You look like you're running for Congress in your last video, by the way. I realize that's probably your church suit, but you look good, man. I wrote it in the comment too. I'm blissfully ignorant of what the hell you're talking about, by the way. Good presentation. Love the scripture. Love your presentation. Love the message. I have no idea what's going on that made you record that. And maybe I should just remain stupid and ignorant on the sidelines. But anyway, you look good in it, and I wanted to do some Carter Hall for you today, buddy. So we'll get into the content in a minute. Let's talk about the series. It's dense. It's thick. It comes at you too quickly. There's too much in it. I wanted to make it as real as possible and base it upon a guy who's turning 60, who ran a business, and a big one. Well, I mean, not IBM, but we had 500 people, and we were at a $62 million a year run rate when I sold the company. And I built it from me. I was a one-man donkey show in 1994, and we were 500 FTE, full-time equivalent. We had 500 people when I sold it in January of 19. So I've been freeing off the treadmill for 5 years and a month now. But I promise you, everything I put in here is from a guy who did the prep work, started the company, ran a one-man show for 5 years, hired his first employee literally 5 years in, and then slowly grew the company, blew it up, prepared it for sale, and sold it. I've done the entire life cycle. I promise you, I'm not selling you a book or a set of worksheets. I'm telling you, this is what I did in real life. A lot of you have commented on individual videos saying, holy crap, this is dense. There's so much to unpack. I'm going to have to watch this more than once. You're going to have to watch these. If you don't have a coach or a mentor walking you through it, you're going to have to watch each one of these things like 10 or 20 times and start writing things down and going through them over and over and over again. This is not a watch series. All right, this is a work series. And I'll warn you straight out, if you are contemplating a restart or whatever you want to call what you're about to do, and you're not willing to go through this unbelievably dense set of actions, there's really a good chance that you don't have what it takes to run the business or do a restart of your life in flight. Ouch, that is so judgmental and so hard to say. It's hard to say. I can't imagine how that is to hear, all right? I'm just being honest. This is why so many people fail in business. This is why so many people end up being employees. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. The wrongness is if you think you're an entrepreneur or you think you want to get out and do a restart and get yourself going, but you don't take the time or have the fortitude or the dedication to spend that third 8, right? You remember that conversation a month ago? What do you do with your third 8 hours? It's tough. It's really tough. And so I've tried to give you some demonstration of how hard the restart is, how hard being your own man is, producing your own income, generating your own wealth. I've tried to produce how hard that is in this 5-part series, and it's really not 5 parts, right? It's already 7. This will be 8. So, it's just dense, and it's dense on purpose. So the series could have been 10 times longer. We could go through in details, and I could show you examples and all that. But that's almost like a work session. Someday maybe we'll put together a week long, like a 5-day, 40-hour session where people come in, or we do it on Zoom or something, and we do like a full 8-hour day for each of the 5 steps. I don't know, I'm making that up. I'm gonna stop there for a minute. So guys, I want to talk a little bit about support. Are those close to you? If you have people close to you, do you have a spouse, do you have kids? Are they on board? Is this something they view as needed to be done as well? Beware of what I call the 2-front war, all right? Out there is going to be a full-on war. To get your prep ready, to get your shit together, to start your business and roll forward is a war. And out there is not helpful to you, right? So you're fighting that war all day long. What you don't want to do is turn around and come home and have another war, right? You don't want that. You don't want a war with your family or your spouse and a war out there. It will break you. It will wear you down. Don't start this if you have a 2-front war. You got to solve the home war, the domestic war first, before you go attack the larger war, which is the outside world is not going to embrace or help you for a while. It's going to want you to prove you want it. In my opinion, God is going to want you to prove to him that you're all in before he gets involved. You better get your shovel out and start digging the hell out of that trench before God brings that shovel for himself. So anyway, there's a little bit of a preamble to this. And guys, remember, I said it in the beginning. I think I've said it almost every episode, but I want to start this one as well with saying, this is me, all right? I'm putting what I did and how it worked for me and what I encountered and what I believe needs to be done to do this right. You have to tailor it to you, but I'm giving you one man's real world example. So it's not the way to do this, all right? It's a way to do this. It's how I did it, and it's how I do big major changes in my life. So again, this is me projecting me and my life and my history onto you. All 5 episodes, all 8 sessions are me putting me on your life. May not work. Probably won't work. Right? Nobody's me. I'm not any of you. You're not. Any of you probably aren't me. So you gotta study this, what works, what doesn't. But if you try shortcuts, that's just Dave's way of doing it, I'm not going to do any of these things. Be careful of cutting out steps. How you do them is up to you. But the steps I've laid out are pretty essential. If you start skipping steps, the real world's going to smack you in the mouth. All right, guys, let's go to work. Forgot, I haven't shown you this yet. All right, so here we go. Traditional start, right? So this is where we are today. Step 5, phase 5. Here we are, session 5. What's working and what's not. You got to reevaluate your thoughts, all right? That's what today is. Evaluate what we've done, reevaluate all the assumptions and things we're based on, and figure out if it's working or not. All right, the first question, the overarching question of this whole set of activities I'm going to lead you into is this working? All right? You got to stop what you're doing. You got to stop your day-to-day life. You got to get all the daily shit away from you. You got to get quiet. If you're in this crew, you're probably going to light a pipe. You're going to sit down and just be quiet and ask yourself, is this working? You want to define some criteria. How will you know this is working or not? All right. For me, it would be, is it making money? Is it profitable? And do I think I can grow this thing or not? This is not a time to be a smartass. This is not a time to be glib or shallow. This is a time to dig deeply with no one else around you at first. And dig deep into the question, is this working? It could be, yeah, it's working. It's starting to generate real revenue, but the expenses are more than I thought they would be. So I'm not really making any profit. I'm not making any money on it, right? Or this is taking way more time out of my life than I expected, and I can't live on 4 hours sleep much longer. Or my wife's getting ready to leave me because it's been 6 months and I have no time for the family anymore. So is this working or not? And what are the criteria that are important to you to decide yes or no? They should be light switches, okay? Is it generating revenue now? Yes or no? Is it generating as much revenue as you thought it would? Yes or no? Are your expenses in line with what you thought they would be? Yes or no, right? You can dig deeper, but you need sort of a control panel or something that says, look, here are the 10 or 15 things and I'm going to decide if this is working for me or not. So there are 3 sub questions that I would use underneath the big one. Is this working? All right. 3 questions I ask myself that help me decide. 1, what should I start doing that I'm currently not doing? Number 2, what should I stop doing that I'm currently doing? And what modifications to the things I'm doing that I want to keep doing do I need to make? All right. You're trying to find out, hey, there's some things I'm not doing. I got to get rolling on. There's some shit that I'm spending time on that I don't need to do anymore. And there's some things I'm doing that I need to keep doing, but I've got to change how I'm doing them or what I'm doing with them. All right. So those 3 sub questions to the big one. All right, guys. The other thing I want to talk about, when you do this, you might find out, you're going to find out you did some things wrong. Either your dream is wrong, you're thinking about it was wrong, your plan was wrong, or you're executing poorly, right? The findings from this phase can actually touch anyone. The more fundamentally wrong you are, the more fundamental your flaw, the further back in the pipeline you have to apply that. So guys, you're going to be finding things out. So 3rd level questions now, right? Things like, do I really have the skill set I thought I did? Am I really as good at this as I thought I was? Do my clients see me as good as I think I am? Is the service I'm providing, the product I'm providing, as good in their eyes as it was in my dream phase? You need to ask these things. The other thing is, do you have the drive, the determination, the stamina to finish this up, to pull this off, right? The answer for most of us is no. The 3rd one I would ask is, do you need more help? Do you need more advice? Do you need more support? Do you need another mentor, advisor? Do you need an employee? Anyway, those are just 3 examples. So here. I did not come up with this. I stole it. I don't remember who I stole it from, but I want to show you this. So this is me being artistic again. I'll bring it back up in a minute. One of the things you're probably going to find out is you're not selling enough. You need to increase the sales of your organization. I had to do this. And so I went looking, and there's an easier way to do that, a marginally harder way to do that, and a really hard way to do that. And that's what these colors are. It is much easier to sell more of your existing services or product to an existing client. All right? I'll give you an example in my life. Once my company got rolling, we were essentially an FBI services organization, all right? That's what we did. We provided really smart people doing really hard things to the FBI from the inside. So if they were used to coming to us for, say, program management support, maybe we could sell them some system engineering support. I mean, this is English I'm speaking, but you don't know what any of it means. So we went in, my expertise was management, but then they wanted a programmer, they wanted a business analyst. So we started selling my existing client services that we could provide very easily. It was easy to increase what we were offering them, or more parts of the FBI needed what I provided. Some program management support, PMSS, and that was the biggest part of my life for years. I sold program management support to the FBI, but the FBI at the time had 21 divisions, and I was supporting one. And so, and divisions break down into sections, and the sections into units. So there were hundreds of units that needed support. And so it was much easier for me to go to an existing client and say, hey, I could sell you more management services because I know this guy's over here is complaining about the same thing. And so we would sell more of our program management support to the same client, FBI, but to another individual inside the FBI. So we're selling existing services to an existing client. And the reason that is important is you speak their language. You get to know your customers, right? Even if you're a mechanic, a dog washer, a lawn service, you get to know your customers. You begin to speak their language. You understand their needs. And so you could say, well, hey, I do more than lawn service. I also do tree trimming, and all of a sudden, one of your existing services get bought by a client that wasn't buying it before. So you're selling an existing service to an existing customer. They built a trust with you. That is easiest. If you want to move into the yellow zones, I'd give you light yellow and dark yellow is probably what I should have done. So you have a client that trusts you and uses you. Greg Tunnell is an expert at this. He went in to do cabinet repair and he ended up doing a whole house restore by the sounds of it, right? The client grew to trust you and wanted to buy new services from you. And maybe you've provided them before, but maybe you haven't. And so it's easier to sell existing services in an additional amount to your existing clients or a new service to an existing customer. All right, you want to start doing something else. Let's say you're a lawn provider and you want to start doing irrigation services. Well, you go to an existing client and I say, hey, I see that your irrigation system isn't working very well. I would like to go ahead and repair it for you. Now, it may be the first time you've ever done that, so you're offering a new service to an existing customer. So the green is selling more of your existing service to an existing customer. The light yellow is selling a new service to an existing customer. Because once you've done that, now it's an existing service, right? Dark yellow is selling you stuff to a new client. Where is that? Up here, sorry. Selling new services or selling existing services to your new client, all right? That's the third level. And then the fourth level, the red, is you're trying to sell new things to a new client. I would avoid that quadrant because you have no basis, you have no past performance, as we used to say. So you're trying to sell into somebody who doesn't know you with no past performance. That doesn't make any sense to me. We stayed away from that unless we had a referral. Unless somebody said, hey, I know you don't do this, but this customer desperately needs it, and you guys seem to have your shit together, so maybe you could find somebody who could go help them. And we did that. And we broke into new clients that way. We broke into new offerings that way. That's like PhD level. You know, we're still in elementary school trying to get into high school, okay? We're not even at university level yet. That is postgraduate work. Maybe you'll find out that there weren't as many clients as you thought who wanted this service. Maybe you found out your pricing was wrong and you're charging too much and people aren't willing to pay it. Maybe you're charging too little and you're not being able to pull a margin, any gross margin, make a profit. You have to figure out what's working and what's not in writing, okay? Make lists of, these are the things that are working really well. These are the things that aren't working. I've got to go work on them. And these are the things that just are hopeless and I'm going to kill them. Because you can't just keep adding to your actions, right? You do eventually run out of time. So I think the last thing we're going to talk about today is how often should you do this? I would suggest quarterly at the shortest interval. I would not go monthly or weekly. And as you mature, I would move it to 6 months and then annually. And see, just by me saying you do this annually, that tells you, right, you've got to do this for years. 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. Unless it's a catastrophic failure or you just catastrophically misread the market in your market research, you can move this thing along for months to see if it's working. And I said earlier, you have to allow your plan to work. You have to give it time to work. It will take longer than you want it to. It will take longer than you expected it to. And if you get in there and start twisting all the knobs before the plane is flying right, you won't know which knob to twist. What you want to try to avoid is changing a whole bunch of aircraft controls at the same time. Because even if that works, you won't know which change worked. So be very judicious about, have I given this thing enough time to work? And most of the time the answer is no. Give it another month. Give it another quarter. Right? And then what's the most significant thing you can change and make it change it a click, right? If your room is too cold, you don't increase the temperature 10 degrees, right? You increase it 1 or 2 degrees and see if that works. If that doesn't work, you change it 1 or 2 degrees, right? You don't want to make massive change to any one variable, and you want to try to change variables one at a time. And again, I'll stress, don't do this too often and don't make too many changes. Context switching back and forth. If you change a bunch of things, it'll take you time to make the change, and then you've got to allow that time to see if it works. If you're changing something every month, you're most likely going to end up right back where you are at the beginning of this discussion. All right, guys, let's wrap this up. Remember, we're asking one question. Is this working? Some questions are, what should I keep doing that I'm currently doing but needs change? What should I keep doing and just leave it alone? And what am I doing that needs to stop being done? And what am I not doing that I should start, right? Those are your sub questions. And then you got to, I would start with the fundamentals of the assumptions you made up in the dream and think plan. The market research was good. Your SWOT, your SWOT assessment, your market research, those were right or those were wrong. I made key errors in some of the most basic assumptions of this whole thing. Then you got to go back and restart this, okay? Don't do this too often and be formal about it. Write down your findings and save them, because when you do this again next quarter or in 6 months, you want to compare your more mature self now 6 months in to where you were at 3 months. You know, what answers did I have back then? Were my changes effective? And what are my answers today? And you're looking for trends, you're looking for themes. And that's why doing this quarterly every 6 months and then annually and saving the results, a little bit like going to the doctor, right? One trip to the doctor isn't all that informative all the blood number works, all your blood work numbers and all that don't mean anything by themselves unless they're completely whacked out. But what they're looking for is to build a trend, a year-over-year trend. And once you've done this 3, 4, 5 years in a row, yeah, your blood pressure might be a little high, but for you, it's okay. Hey, your blood sugars are a little bit too high, but your body seems to accept that. Those are the things you're looking for. Don't do it too often and take it seriously. Guys, I think that's it. We're going to wrap this up, and hopefully it's a little bit shorter one. Hope this series lands. I'm going to put this up there. It'll stay up here as a playlist as long as my channel's up. If you want help, if you need more questions or more ideas, feel free to ask. And that's it. We'll talk to you later. Bye, you guys.